Thank you for being here. In my family, I'm the person who likes directions. You know how this is? In like every family, there's like someone who always controls the Google Maps. That's me. And back when we used to travel, when traveling was a thing, I'm sad to say, hopefully it will be again. My favorite thing in the world to do was to be dropped in the middle of a city and to get myself thoroughly lost and then to find my way. I care about direction, and it's always really spoken to me. And I wonder if it's one of the reasons why I ended up going to rabbinical school. Because the questions of where we came from and where we're going are questions that really matter to me. Which is why this year is so hard for me. I just feel lost, and it's not the travel kind of lost. It's not the lost in which you're about to find your way. It's the lost and you don't know how to get found. Maybe you feel that way too, right? What are the directions? What's the path that I take to go somewhere different, to get somewhere different, that we all need to get somewhere different? You know, tshuva comes from the word lashuv, which means to return, to go back the way you came. And that's the image. We say it over and over again during the services. Chadesh yameinu kekedem, make our days new like they were back then. If you could see the entire image of Yom Kippur in your mind, the image would be us having gotten lost, just turning back and going home. But something makes me feel like we can't do that this year. That there isn't a possibility for a U-turn. In fact, what we might need is a kind of a new turn. A different kind of tshuva. Maybe we've passed some sort of point of no return in which what we're not trying to do is to return to the normal that we came from, but actually blaze a new one. I think it's true. So much of what we were doing has led us here. We need to be doing something different. So what I want to talk to you about today is the possibility of how we can do something different. What does it mean to change our direction by changing our mind? In order to do that, I've got to go way back. Hundreds of years ago, to the 1300s, to another pandemic, a much worse one, what we call the bubonic plague. You need to go to France, and a father doing what no father should ever have to do. Stand by the bedside of his daughter as she passes out into this world. Her name was Esther, and his name was Rabbi Yaakov ben Shlomo Atzarfati. And we know all of this because he writes a memoir. There's even a name for this genre called Plague Memoir, telling us about his experiences, how painful it was to lose his beloved daughter and his family, and why he thinks the plague happened in the first place. And if you asked him, he would say without compunction, without missing a beat, why did the bubonic plague come to us? Well, if you put yourself in the mind of a medieval, you can probably answer the question too. He would say, sin. It's because we've left God. It's because we've moved away from the direction of the Torah. If we were more faithful, if we were more pious, if we were more loving, if we were more kind, none of this would have happened, he says. And the real problem is that he's wrong. Look, our ancestors weren't bad people. To the contrary, everything we know about him says that he was a man of kindness and of charity, of compassion and of wisdom. They weren't manipulative people. If you asked any one of the members of the three Abrahamic religions at that time, they would have given you essentially the same answer. They probably would have blamed it on a member of the other religion, but they would have given you the same answer. They just didn't know enough about the world to know how it worked. See, the way that the medievals thought the world worked was like a great machine. It was like a beautiful watch. It ticked. Everything in their world happened for a reason. And justice was perfect. And so we even have a statement by the great Maimonides that if someone loses a child, God forbid, you should say, well, it was because of some action of the parent. And how could Maimonides say something so horrifying, so horrific, so painful to the ears? It's because he believed that the world was in perfect balance and that everybody got what they deserved. That's how our ancestors thought. They thought that everyone gets what they deserve. So influential was this idea, by the way, that in the 1700s, it roots itself deeply into a Protestant movement that makes its way over the ocean into the States. I'm talking about Weber. If you read Max Weber, the philosopher, you'll know what I'm talking about. And imbued in the American ethos as well is this idea that you get what you deserve. You raise yourself up by the bootstraps, you work very hard, right? You go to the right kind of schools, and it's all work, work, work. And you, if you do it right, you will be given the American dream. It's a medieval way of thinking. And it was utterly destroyed, that way of thinking, really for all time, sometime in the 19th century. I want to talk to you about a great rabbi, really my favorite rabbi in the world, Rav Avram Yitzhak Cohen Cook, Rav Cook, who was the first chief rabbi of British Mandate Palestine before there was even a state of Israel. He was a capacious mind, an Ilui, a genius, a prodigy, and he had the ability to sort of keep that visionary perspective in the way that's so hard for me to do, right? His view was global. And despite being along with being an incredibly devout Jew, one of the things that you need to know about Rav Kook was that he was learned in philosophy and sciences, and he cared about the movements of the day. And he saw three things happen, after which he said, this is going to change the world and specifically religion forever. He saw Darwin sail across the sea on the Beagle to the Galapagos and come back with a new story about how we came to be. The only constant thing is change, and that all is evolution. He saw astronomers, among them Edwin Hubble, sorry, it's been a long Yom Kippur, look into a telescope and realize that not only are we not the only galaxy in this universe, there are uncounted galaxies in this universe, hundreds of billions. And even in our own galaxy, we're not at the center of the world. We're not at the center of the universe. Galactically, we're like in Akron, Ohio. Charlotte Perkins Gilman in the United States and other feminists around the world, the writer of the Yellow Wallpaper, who was also a sociologist, who began to write that social systems existed not because of divine intervention, not because of biblical truth, not because of destiny, but because people work in systems, live in systems, and have a tendency to perpetuate those systems, whether they're just or not. These three things Rav Kook saw. And he said, this is going to blow everybody away. It's going to take so long, he says, before the Bahila, before all of the chaos that it causes in spiritual thinking comes, right, settles. But when it gets there, he says, and he has this incredibly beautiful line. What he says is the world will come to realize what Yechidei HaSegula, Baalei Hadea HaGedola, the talented few, those in the past who had mastered the greatest knowledge always knew. That we might think that there's plenty that divides us, but the truth in the end is that everything is echad. Everything is one. I want to propose a new direction, a mental orientation, a way of calibrating your compass. That's actually going to take a ton of work because the way that we're raised, the way that we think about the world is actually very deeply ingrained within us. I'm asking you to abandon, because I don't think it's tenable anymore, the idea that people get what they deserve, and accept the truth that things happen in this world because we are all connected. Do people get what they deserve? Do coronavirus victims get what they deserve? They do not. Do black people in this country get what they deserve? They do not. Do women in this country get what they deserve? They do not. And it's not just about the country, it's about the world. You have to work hard in this time to come up for a rationale for why all the things that are happening because we deserve them. You know, it used to be a typhoon would hit somewhere and someone from a different side of a sort of religious fundamentalism from me would blame it on a group of people doing wrong. And what was amazing about those group of people is they were always a group of people that I donated money to. You know, it was always queer people, and it was always separating religion and state, and it was always religious pluralism, right? And always Enlightenment things, right? And it was always the Jews somehow or another as well, which was something incredibly distressing, right? But people, I don't hear anybody doing that anymore, because who can really come up with a reason why we deserve this? But if you allow your direction to be that things happen in this world because everything is connected, all of a sudden, certain questions are going to start getting answered that weren't answerable before. Why is the coronavirus here? Because everything's connected and people fly all around the world, and what happens in China matters here as well. Why should I care what happens to people from a different skin hue from me? Because everything is connected, and actually what I have done has in part led to what happened to them. Why should I care about refugees? Why should I care about people on the other side of the planet? Right? Why should I care about politics in other states? Why should I care about democracy in different parts of the world? Because everything is connected. And our connection drives us in ways that sometimes we can't even imagine. Do you think you are an island? You are a heartland connected in every direction to all the people around you. And I truly believe that deep down, if what we thought when things happen in the world was not, oh, my kid got into that college because they deserved it, they worked really hard and so on and so forth. But actually, it's because we're all connected, and sometimes our socioeconomic status, and sometimes because of our parents, and sometimes because the kid, of course, has worked hard, but a lot of factors help them get in. I make the money I make because I deserve this world. No. We make the money we make in the world because it's all sort of connected to where our parents came from, right? In what part of the world that we were born in, and in what strata in society. If we started answering questions, I'm not saying that our effort doesn't matter. But if we allowed to enter into the equation the depth of our interconnectedness, the world would start to make sense in a way that it hasn't for years. I was working in DC, and we hosted this crew from Dartmouth, actually from Shaul's University. They came down, they're all college students. And I'm old enough for these people to look unbearably young. You know what I'm saying? But it's this multi-faith group, it's this interfaith group of college students, and they come down and they sit with us through services, they eat with us in a meal, and as we're leaving, I'm walking them out, and this young Muslim man, 21, 22 years old, a baby, turns around and says to me, this is the most Jewish thing ever. He goes, the thing, when you say the Shema, he's like, you say it, but you don't understand it. He's like, you haven't quite gotten it right. He says, you say echad, but what you really mean is wachad. Because in Arabic, it's the same thing as in Hebrew, that they have a word echad, but they have a word wachad, which actually means together, unified, connected. And this kid changed the Shema for me forever, right? Right, and by the way, if you want to ask, Rabbi, wouldn't it be better for you to be using Hebrew rather than Arabic in a service? It's all connected. It really is. So I want to propose a new orientation. I want to give us new directions. I want us to be moving in the direction of connection all the time. It's what's going to lift us out of this morass, take us out of this quagmire. Joel Stanley, the pastor that Reb David likes to quote all the time, says that it is direction much more than intention that determines destination. And if we start moving in each other's direction, in the direction of interconnectedness, our destination is where we want to be. And if we don't, looking at you on my screen, you are my connection. Some of you I miss without even knowing you. As hard as it is, that's what I'm talking about this year. That's what we need, the direction of connection. Gemar Chatima Tova, maybe you sealed in a book of life, of goodness, of connection. Shana Tova. Shana Tova. Just when they're right, yeah. It's all connected, it's all connected. I can't hear you right now, but I would really love to hear you. Hold on. If people want to put hellos into the chat, and I'm going to get my speaker up so that I can hear everyone. Ooh.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I just want to remind people about the Jewish Immersion Network. Recordings, Reb David from Romamu, as well as our 6 partner organizations, are just doing really like the best of Judaism all year long. Oh my God, so good. And they're going to be doing this afternoon starting pretty soon at 2. There's also the Teen Justice Summit on that website for those of you who have teenagers. And I did listen to this comment, guys. Best sermon I've heard since the Middle Ages. Best comment I've heard since the Middle Ages. That was a good one, Ashes. Nice work. Sending you all so much blessing.
Hey, Uncle Scott.
Oh, hey, there's my family. There's my connection. My beautiful little niece on the screen.
Hello.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I see Emmy from DC there. I see Gavi Alter. I see, hi, Lauren. Good to see you on screen. I see the Subars. The famous J&J are there. Where's the dog, people? I want to see the dog. That's what I really want to see. Ariela and David. I see the Canfor Rolnicks. We really miss you guys. I'll see you in Park Slope soon. Barbara Cowan, Dan Barsky, Devin Harv, Steve Kiviat. Oh, there's Kim Smith. Hello, Kim Smith. Hello, Kim Smith and family. Oh, there's Jeremy. I see Jeremy and Lauren. How are you guys? Thank you so much for what you added to the service today. Julie Spiegel. Yasher koach to you all. I miss your family. I'm sorry we're not on Harlem anymore, but we get to be connected here. Who would have thunk? And there's Kevin. Kevin. I feel deeply connected to Kevin. All right. That's it, my friends. Shana Tova. I'll see you later.
Shana Tova.
See you later.
Shana Tova.
Let's start your chat.
Shana Tova.
You want to go to your chat.
Thank you.
Remember that Nila is around 6:15. Your confirmation link should have a link to it. Okay. Hi, Amy, the Glimmers, and the Abram family. For some reason, I couldn't see you guys on screen. I don't know why, but I'm so happy to see you. Cami Arrow, Sarah Lippman. All right, everyone. I'm going to leave the room and close out the feed. Shana Tova. Josh Nelson.